If you listen real close, you can hear them whisper their legacy to you. Carpe diem. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. Thank you, Mr. Pitts.
It gives you chills just to look back at some of his work this morning, doesn't it? This morning we continue to remember a Hollywood legend, Academy Award-winning actor Robin Williams. He died at his home in California yesterday after an apparent suicide. So this morning we thought we would talk to you about how people can get support when it comes to mental health issues, and as well as bring awareness to prevent suicides. So joining us right now is Karen Ranis, Program Manager at the Austin chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're very welcome.
And important to talk about not only Robin Williams' death, his suicide, but just important to bring awareness to the issue and how if you're suffering from something like this, how you can get help and how you can talk to somebody maybe about something like this. What are some of the challenges when it comes to talking about this?
I think you sort of named it. One of the most challenging parts of addressing someone who you're concerned about is knowing what to do. People know that the resources are out there and that there's help. They just don't know how to do or what to do if you have someone in your life that you're concerned about. And the tendency in our culture is not to say anything at all, to sort of tiptoe around the issue. But what we know is the best thing that we can do is be honest, raise the conversation. If you have someone in your life that you're concerned about, you should sit them down and say, you know what, I see that you're struggling. And the reality is that people who are in your kinds of situation and having the kinds of feelings that you're having, it's not uncommon for them to think about suicide. Are you having those kinds of thoughts? Because then you open up the conversation, and it's an opportunity for you to reassure that person and to let them know, I'm here if you need me. I'm going to navigate this with you. We're going to do this together, because probably the most dangerous time for someone who's in crisis is when they become very isolated and they are alone. We want to always make sure that if there's someone in our lives that we're concerned about, that we're really present to them.
And Karen, it may seem like somebody who has it all, like Robin Williams, you know, fame and fortune, might not be suffering from something like depression. What his agent says he was struggling with severe depression. It's important to know that this could affect all types of life.
Absolutely. You know what? We say all the time that people may discriminate, but mental illness doesn't. There's a great deal, again, of shame and stigma around depression, but the reality is that it is a very serious medical condition. Untreated, undertreated, or ineffectively treated depression is the #1 leading cause of suicide. So it's really important that we begin to recognize that when we encounter someone who appears to be struggling in some way, who may be in a really dark place, that we do reach out to them. You know, if you encountered someone who was bleeding profusely or choking, you wouldn't, if they said, oh, I'm okay.
Right.
You wouldn't walk away. You would make sure that you stayed there, that you reassured them that they got the treatment that they needed. And that's what we need to do when we encounter someone who we think may be struggling in some kind of way, who may be in a really dark place. And we know it when we see it. I think we sense if there's someone close to us when they may need help.
Right, and just doing that, talking to them, starting that conversation might save you some of the guilt that you may not feel or feel afterwards, you know, something happens.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important to remember that because depression is a serious medical condition, like any serious medical condition, is you are caring for and loving someone who is struggling and who is depressed, you need to take good care of yourself as well. One of the things that NAMI Austin does is provide some great classes that families and people who are the support system for someone who's dealing with serious medical.
I think we're having troubles with your microphone right now, Karen, but the symposium, you mentioned that, so I want to let our viewers know about the symposium that's happening, which you are on your way to this morning, because some of the best minds are getting together to work on suicide prevention here in Central Texas. They call it the Texas Suicide Prevention Symposium over at San Marcos, the Convention Center. That's going to start at 10:30. There are so many resources out there that you can check out that we just talked about if you need to help yourself or a loved one to talk about this. And one of those is, of course, NAMI Austin. You can see the website up there on your screen. We have those resources for you, organizations, all posted for you right now at KXAN.com. Just click on this story. We'll make it easy for you this morning as we go ahead and talk more about this subject. So coming up in our 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about Robin Williams, of course, his home in California, how people have just been gathering there. They've been laying flowers down and remembering his life, and more on his legacy coming up. I appreciate your time once again.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.